And what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today, the day that you're watching this video is October 30th, 2015. And that's really exciting for me because, as I mentioned on my last video, it is the 2-year anniversary of Rule of Two Review on YouTube, which is super exciting. I couldn't be more proud of that. I've had a lot of great support and success with the channel over the first 2 years. 1 year ago, I made kind of an update video where I discussed some plans and things I wanted to do with the channel going forward. I really didn't do a lot of those things because a lot of it really had to do with movies and stuff, and I just sadly didn't have the time to kind of incorporate that into the channel. But it was still fun to do so, and it's kind of fun to go back and gauge where the channel was a year ago to where it is today. And the channel has far exceeded my very meager expectations, you know. I'm sitting at like exactly 2,400 subscribers, and, you know, the level of growth that the channel had between years 1 and years 2 is pretty significant, and I owe that to you guys. Just the simple fact that you care about my nerdy ass talking about video game stuff all the time, you know, and that you seem to care and you support it is just awesome. Like, it feels great. You know, every time someone clicks that subscribe button on someone's YouTube channel, it can make a pretty big difference. You know, for those of us that do this, I'm sure a lot of my fellow YouTubers out there will agree, it feels great to see people get on board with what you do and how you present your content and support you and enjoy hearing you discuss things the way that you do it. And the fact that you guys care about my opinion, or at least you seem to, is pretty great. So, you know, thank you so much. And in wanting to do a thank you video, I wanted to, of course, conduct another Q&A. This, I think, is the 5th one. I've lost count. It's either 4 or 5. I haven't done a whole bunch. But I've really loved doing the first couple. I've had great responses and great questions from people. You know, everyone really seems to get involved, and that feels really great. So I was really excited to do another one. Now, I received a lot more questions than I initially anticipated, which is awesome. That's what I wanted. And I don't really want to leave any questions out. I'm going to try not to do that. So typically I put this together in a little bit more professional of a format where it's long form, and I get all the questions printed and posted at the bottom of the screen here as I read them off to you guys, because I always like to give YouTube shout outs and show the name of the YouTuber, the person who asked me the question. I'm not going to do that today because it's going to take me forever. So I'm really just going to try to barrel through these as fast as I can. You guys came out in force with the questions. Wow. Couldn't be more thrilled with that. So thank you guys so much for getting so involved and wanting to ask me a bunch of questions. You know, this is like my favorite thing to do here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I got a whole bunch pulled up. And we're going to start off with the first question, which comes from someone who I think, recently noticed on my videos. Reverend Friars, he asks me, we're going to start big. This is a huge question here. So Reverend Friars asks, what would I do if Nintendo as a company ended and sold off all their IPs to Sony and Microsoft? The dreaded, what happens if Nintendo is doomed question. And it's a great question. You know, it's one that people have kind of talked about and joked about for a long time. I've certainly sort of thought about my feelings, but I've never really ruminated on this subject. So when I think about if they would not only just close as a game, not like only close as a hardware manufacturer, but just close as a company, he says, if Nintendo as a company ended altogether, and in this respect, not become a third-party developer, but just sell their IPs to competitive companies, Sony and Microsoft. It could probably include the likes of Capcom, Activision, EA, too, who knows? Like, they basically would do a fire sale. What would I do? Well, I would be incredibly sad. I would just be so unbelievably, unconsolably sad, because I think that a gaming world without Nintendo in it is a gaming world I barely even want to be a part of. They're just my favorite company for so many reasons. You know, I reiterate this all the time. They screw up a lot. They're not perfect. But you know what? No one is. So that's okay. I don't expect perfection from anyone. But I can still say, without question, with complete conviction, that Nintendo, I still think, is the best company in the biz. I think that they, for all the bad business decisions they make some amazingly smart ones that always tend to change the way we look at gaming and push gaming forward. Give people new ideas and approaches to creating games and hardware and interfaces and controllers and all these great things. They've been doing that consistently. They still do it. And they make the best games on the market. Period. The end. Doesn't matter if you don't like Mario or you don't like Zelda. In terms of quality, as far as game development and game design, it's unmatched. And anyone in the industry would even tell you the same thing, even their competition. So when I think about Nintendo leaving, it's tragically sad. But I feel like I would go through a mourning period where I would just like question whether or not I even want to be a gamer in this gaming world without Nintendo, and I can't believe that they would do this and da da da. But eventually, I think I would get over it, and it would be easier for me to get over it if, in fact, all their properties went somewhere. You know, unlike what Konami is doing, where they're sitting on the gold mines that are Castlevania and Silent Hill and Metal Gear, although they kind of said they're going to keep working with Metal Gear, but I don't believe them. Like, Nintendo obviously wouldn't do that. They would sell Metroid, they would sell Zelda, they'd sell Mario, Star Fox. I feel like their properties would go somewhere. So, as horrible as it would be for Nintendo to leave the industry as a whole, provided I could still get access to those games. I mean, they may get screwed up by other companies. Maybe we don't want anyone else touching Metroid or Zelda, which is probably true. But you know what? If they still existed, they went somewhere else, and we could still access and play them on some other company's machine or what have you. I mean, I would accept that. I would take that over nothing for sure, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of people would as well. Luckily, I don't think we're going to see anything like that happen anytime soon. But it is a really interesting question, so thanks, Reverend Friars, for asking that of me. Okay, back to my next question. We have a question from YouTube user C-Dub, who is someone that I actually know pretty well both on YouTube and on Facebook. So what's up, buddy? Thanks for asking a really good question. And it's a pretty long one, so I'm going to kind of try to make it a little bit quicker here. He asks, when do I consider a game beat? What does it take for me to say, I beat the game? Is it after you've been through the levels and defeated the final boss and the end credits are rolling? Or do you not consider a game beaten until you've 100% completed the game? Just an example, he says, Super Mario 3D World. Do you feel that you have to collect the 3 stars, all the stamps, and get to the top of the flagpole in each stage for the game to be beat? Or you just have to make it through to the end? And he mentions that he's fairly OCD himself, and he finds it difficult to move on to the next level if he hasn't actually accomplished everything one level or one world or one anything really asks you to do, and hasn't beaten the game until he's basically 100% completed it. Which I totally get it. A lot of people are that way. One of my best friends is that way. I love games with side objectives, and especially like collectible games, like in a lot of platformers and stuff. I love that. You know, going back to the Banjo-Kazooie days, that stuff is just amazing. A lot of Nintendo's platformers nowadays are doing that, like Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, Yoshi Woolly World. What's another recent example? Like all the Donkey Kong Country games, like all that stuff. They're great at it, and I love it. However, I am not that OCD, and I used to be like a long time ago, but nowadays I don't really worry about the collectibles and 100% completing most games at all, to tell you the truth. The last time I cared about that was the 3 Metroid Prime games, because I played those games to death, because they're like my favorite games of all time. So I did 100% all of those games, but that also took some time, and I had to redo each one of those a couple times to do so. So long story short, no, I don't have to 100% complete a game. Now, the caveat to that is some games have a secondary ending. If you play the game to an ending, like the Bayonetta games, for example, you play a game to an ending and it seems like the game is over and the credits roll, but then you can actually go back and you have to do something else to get the final ending. Or like in a lot of the Mario games, like even going back to 64, you can get so many stars to get one ending, but if you get that many more stars, you actually get the other final real ending. That is when I really consider a game complete. It's basically when I get to what is effectively the actual final boss and the actual end credits of a game. No, it's not 100% completing. And in the case of games like Zelda and Skyrim, recently The Witcher, Dragon Age, like there's so many side quests to do. I'm not 100%ing that. I don't have the time for that. I like to just pick and choose the things that I make important throughout my playthrough, and that's why it's nice to have a huge smorgasbord of quests and things to collect and do and complete to kind of, pepper your own path through the game. So instead of going in a straight line, you kind of go here and then you go here and you do this and this and this. Like, that's kind of my playthrough of the game. I don't want to do the whole thing if it's a game as huge as something like The Witcher or Skyrim. That's not for me. And in games that are like the platformers with the collectibles, I mean, I'll go back and try to get some of those things, but I don't kill myself over it. Once I beat the final boss and I reach the credits, for me, that's when I feel like I've beaten the game. So, yeah, great question. Thanks for that. All right, here's another really quick and easy one. What is it? I guess YouTube user RC Cola 18, I want to say, asks me, will I buy a Nintendo NX when it comes out? Absolutely. Obviously, I'm definitely going to buy a Nintendo NX. I am super, super pumped about that. I cannot wait. I would think that most Nintendo fans are, and probably most gamers. I think they're going to market that to the point where hopefully everyone wants one. but I guess we're going to just sort of find out how that actually goes. So Aaron Johnson asks me, I've mentioned that I have a band, which is true. I do have a band. I have a new band, actually, because I recently moved from one state to another one. Do I have a lot of our music uploaded anywhere? He also really enjoys my videos. Thank you so much, Aaron Johnson, for asking me. Yes, there are places to find my music. Both my main band that I spent the last 8 years in, that we saw a lot of success back in Denver, where I was recently living, and also a new band in my new city that I've actually connected with, some folks from Florida who moved out here to where I'm at now. And we've connected, and I've joined that project. And so, yes, there are locations for both of those bands. I will put some links in the description so that you and anyone else who's curious can check out both those projects. Yes, I am a professional drummer. I'm playing drums and all this music you're going to be hearing. And it's pretty cool stuff. So hopefully you guys dig it. Thanks for asking. I love talking about and sharing my music. I've been doing that for 20 years. I've been playing 15 or so years. I've been doing professional live and recording stuff. So pretty exciting. Thanks so much, Aaron, for asking about that. Okay, Samuel Lemon asks me, after watching your NX thoughts, this isn't necessarily a question for you per se, but do you think we will see Metroid NX at launch? So, great question. This is a really exciting one here. No, I don't. Now, I do think that absolutely a Metroid is being worked on. I know that there's been a lot of controversy. Metroid Prime Federation Force has been a big deal. I was very mad the first week with that game. I've softened up on it, and now I'm just, like, accepting it for what it is. But because of that, it's like, well, what about the real Metroid game? When are we going to get a real Samus back? When are we going to get the console Metroid that we've been waiting for? Is it first person or third person? Is it 2D? Is it 3D? What's going on with Metroid? And I'm right there with you. It's my favorite series of all time. Samus is my favorite character. So I am dying to know what's happening with Metroid. There were quotes where it was stated that if they were going to make a new Metroid Prime, it would take so long that, you know, it's going to be a couple years. And so everyone was like, well, we're not going to see Metroid Prime 4 on the Wii U. And that's obviously true. Now, my whole approach to that statement was that, really, that didn't necessarily say that a Metroid game wasn't in the works. He just said a Metroid Prime game, and people forget Prime is only one little collection of games within the entire pantheon that is Metroid, and most Metroid games ever made are actually 2D, and people forget that. So Metroid can be 2D, it can be third person, it can be first person, and it could be something brand new we haven't even seen. It can be a fucking pinball game, apparently. So just because he said a Metroid Prime isn't going to be revealed or released very soon doesn't mean another Metroid game isn't in the works that might still release on the Wii U before the end of its life, but I don't doubt it. I do think that they're working on a new Metroid game for consoles. I do think it will be something that won't come out on the Wii U. I think it will come out on the NX, and I absolutely have no faith that it will be available at launch because I just don't think it's going to be. Now, we could be surprised. It's been long enough since we've seen a console Metroid game. 2010 for Metroid Other M. It's been long enough that I guess they could surprise us and have it ready for launch of Wii U, or of NX, sorry, but I just don't see that. They tried to have Metroid Prime 3 available at the launch of the Wii, and they couldn't even do that. That got delayed like 2 years before, or I guess a year and a half before it finally came out, you know? So, basically, luckily, I can tell you that my personal opinion and theory is yes, I think a Metroid game is coming. I don't think it's like years away, but I also don't think it's going to be at the launch of the NX. But that remains to be seen, and we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, hey, I hope I'm wrong. So, yeah, thanks, Samuel Lemon, for that great question. All right, on to the next one here. Larry Koopa asks, my question is, what was your favorite gaming console, your first console, favorite game of all time, and what was your favorite memories of gaming? Wow, there's a lot of questions there. So my favorite gaming console of all time, I actually did talk about this a long time ago on the channel, is the Nintendo 64, because I just have the most fond memories overall. I was old enough, I mean, I was gaming on an Atari 2600 as a very tiny kid before the NES came out. My older brother came home with an NES. So I do predate the NES, luckily, so I have the full understanding of, I think, relevant gaming today in Nintendo's history. As a comparison, NES is amazing, Super NES is amazing, GameCube is freaking awesome, but the Nintendo 64, man, they had the best library, they had the best games, Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Mario Kart 64, I mean, the list just goes on and on, Banjo-Kazooie. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. Killer Instinct Gold was a game I spent a lot of time on. Wave Race was so damn good. You know, it was just awesome. And they had the 4 controller ports, and the controller was so revolutionary with the analog stick. It was great. 64, it was perfect time. I was 16 when it came out, and it just blew my mind. So that's my favorite console. My first console, I just said, basically the Atari 2600, but if we were to remove the really old stuff, it would be the NES. My favorite game of all time, many of you have heard me say this, it's the first Metroid Prime. There are a lot of games that come close to sort of almost overtaking it, but it's Metroid Prime. One day I'll make a list of my top 10 favorite games of all time. I think that'd be a lot of fun, and people would really enjoy it, hopefully. My favorite memories of gaming, there are so many. I actually thought about making a list of my favorite memories of gaming once and making like a top 10 of all these great things. You know, one of them even includes when my older brother, Jason, came home with an NES for the first time in like 1985. I was like 5 years old, and all of a sudden, oh my God, an NES, all these things. Playing Metroid Prime for the first time. The first time Halo came out, and me and my buddies spent 2 weeks co-oping this game that we'd never seen. And by the way, yes, that's Halo 5 playing behind me. But the first time that I had ever seen a game like Halo play out the way it was, first person was like still kind of new, and you had all this co-op, and you had a squad running alongside you. It blew my mind. It was just like the greatest thing. But my real favorite memory of gaming ever is going to be in 2004 when I attended E3. And I was working for GameStop at the time as a manager, and it was very easy to qualify to attend E3. Didn't have to pay anything other than paying for our trip out there and our hotels and that stuff. And we spent all 3 days at E3 that year, and that was the year that the Nintendo DS was announced and shown, and I got my hands on the DS in a presentation before anyone in the world ever saw it. Resident Evil 4 was there, Metal Gear Solid 3 was there, Halo 2 was there, but it was behind closed doors, KOTOR 2 was there, Star Fox Assault was there, Advance Wars 2 was there, the first God of War, like Gran Turismo 4, I want to say. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's probably so many more games I can't even think of. Metroid Prime 2 was there. Like, there were so many great things that were there for the very first time. And, I got to play StarCraft Ghost at that E3, by the way. So I played both the Xbox and GameCube versions of the infamous StarCraft Ghost that never released, and most people never had a chance to check out. I played that shit. That's awesome. So that's my favorite gaming memory because it's E3, and also the year that Twilight Princess was first revealed. That was the very famous Reggie press conference where he's like, oh, and one more thing, and everyone lost their minds. We weren't press, so we weren't at that, but it was the talk of the show floor all 3 days was the new Zelda game that was shown off. So I got to experience that stuff firsthand, man. And you know what? There hasn't been an E3 as good since. I'm sure of it. I'm probably a little bit skewed because I went to that one, but that's just the way I feel. So I'm going to start going through these pretty fast for you guys. YouTube user Mosufu asks me, did I work at IGN? And I'm assuming that's because he probably thinks, like a lot of people, that I look like Colin Moriarty. And you're definitely not the first person to say that, man. I hear that in a lot of videos, like, you look like Colin Moriarty. Are you Colin Moriarty secretly? And I guess, yeah, we do kind of look the same, except I have the beard, and I don't have as much hair as he does. But, yeah, no, I'm not Colin Moriarty, nor did I ever work at IGN. But I actually tried to work at IGN, but that's impossible to do. So, moving on here, I might have to go I have to go back and forth the long questions. I can't look in my email. I have to pull them up actually on the video here. So, I don't know if it's going to show me this one here from Snooze Gaming. This Snooze Gaming asked me a couple. Here we go. Alrighty. So, or Snooze Games, sorry. And thanks. You guys have been following the channel for a while, and I appreciate that. So, I have a few questions. I'll only post 2, but I actually think he asked 3. Question 1. With the NX looming, what would you personally like to see changed on the software side of their new console? Social media integration, voice chat, faster OS, etc. This is something that's like a really big deal for a lot of people, is the features of the system. Oh my God, we don't have cross-game chat, and we have to be able to do this with, I don't even know, like, I don't know, the voice chat just seems to be the only one that really comes to mind. Or like achievements and stuff like that. So that's like a really big deal. All these different features that the other systems have, posting videos to social media and online and stuff. And like those things are cool and I like them. I don't care. Like personally, I don't care. Would I like cross-game chat? Yes. A faster OS actually is the only thing for sure. Yes, a faster, more efficient OS. Abso-freaking-lutely. But everything else, like the social media integration and the voice chat and cross-game chat and achievements and stuff, would I like those? Absolutely. Would I happily welcome them and be excited if I heard that they were announced? You bet your ass. I would be super, super into that. That being said, I don't really care. Like, if the system is awesome, if the games are fantastic, and if the controller and the interface is great, however that means it needs to be great, I'm happy. I don't care what else it does, man. Like, that's just me. I still go back to the days when game boxes were just game boxes. So it's great that I can watch Netflix and all these things, and I can do voice chat and get on with all these other people. It's great, and I use those features that are available on the consoles that have them, but I don't care. They don't mean anything to me. They don't have anything to do with the value. I'm buying a system for the games that are available on it. If nothing had Netflix, I would still buy the console. Like, so I don't really care about those things. But it's a great question because people certainly care about them. So the one thing I would say when it comes to the NX is I hope it has those things because it's going to help other people feel more interested in this system and justify their purchases of the system. And so for the sake of the NX actually being successful, I want them. For myself, don't give a shit. Just release great games and have an awesome controller, and I'm fine. So that's me with the NX and the features. Very good question. The other question from Snooze Games: if the Wii U sells very well this holiday season with great bundles they're likely to release, do you think Nintendo should either push the launch of the NX back? If not, should they still support the Wii U with cross titles and other games, sort of how the PS2 was supported? Or should they solely focus on the NX when it launches, sort of how Microsoft ditched the original Xbox support when 360 launched? So that's a really good question, actually. Gosh, I feel like it needs to be a combination of still kind of supporting the Wii U while also completely moving to focus on the NX. The reason I say that is because there's part of me that wonders if Nintendo plans to kind of support the Wii U for a longer period of time. I think that might be part of it. Because it's like, why are they cutting it off so soon? But honestly, I don't think they're going to do that. And really, for the sake of the NX, there's no reason to keep supporting the Wii U. The reasons, like the PS2 you bring up as an example, was supported for so long was because it sold so insanely well and so many freaking people had PS2s that they needed to have that overlap into the PS3 so that Sony's fans were still being supported and they felt like their PS2 was still had a reason to exist and it wasn't just a waste, and then they could slowly get warmed up to the idea of buying a PS3. Wii U, as much as I freaking love that machine, there's not enough of them sold. By the time the NX releases, there's no reason to keep supporting the Wii U. There's not enough people that have them or would even be buying games for the system. I mean, with the exception of the few huge hit Nintendo games, not enough games even sell on the console now. So I don't really think that they're going to support the Wii U. And as much as I would like it and maybe could see it, I don't see it happening. I think that they're going to probably focus primarily on the NX, and I honestly think that they should. So let's move on to another one here. We don't want this one. Never gonna happen. Okay, so Caleb Pagan asks me, what is my favorite game of the year so far and my favorite game to come? Well, my favorite game of the year so far, spoiler alert for my top 10 game of the year list, is Bloodborne. Because Bloodborne is a stupidly good masterpiece. I freaking love that game. From Software just killed it. They just got incrementally better and better as they went from Demon Souls to Dark Souls to Dark Souls 2 to the perfect masterpiece that is Bloodborne. Not a game for everybody, but that is easily my favorite game I've played of the year so far. There are some other good contenders. Now, my favorite game to come, I think you mean the game I'm most excited for this year, Fallout 4. So, two games that are not Nintendo games, but that's just the way this year is playing out. Fallout 4, I think, is going to be the best game of this year. It will easily be my game of the year. Well, I shouldn't say easily, because Bloodborne is going to be pretty stiff competition. But I'm just, I'm so excited for Fallout. I think it's going to be amazing and marvelous, and I just can't wait. He asked me also the future of Rule of 2 review, more gameplays, trailer reactions, stuff of that nature. And, it's tough, the future of Rule of 2 review, because I like the idea of doing, like, Let's Plays, like, on a regular basis, things like trailer reactions and other kind of kooky content. But, like, my strengths don't lie in scripting things, so I'm not gonna, like, put together, like, scripts or jokey things and funny things. I can be a funny guy in real life, but it's not my thing really on YouTube with the channel. So I'm not really good there, and, my limited editing ability, I'm not really going to do... I don't know, trailer reactions and stuff, I just don't think that they're genuine. Like, at least for me, I should say, sorry. I don't think that it would feel as genuine, so that's not really my thing. I love doing Let's Plays, but they take so much time, you guys, and I don't have the nicest computer yet to do really solid editing for stuff like that. I will be upgrading very soon, but while my computer setup is the way it is, like, it's just not feasible for me to do it, and it's just so much work. And I'm only okay at the basic editing programs that I have, so it's just not my skill, you know? I'll continue to do the occasional Let's Plays for fun and when it makes sense, but it's not really going to be the focus. To tell you the truth, the thing that I love doing is what I do now. You know, news stories happens, rumors and theories about this, that, and the other, talking about Nintendo. That's just it. Like, Rule of 2 Review to me is my personality and me discussing my opinions about gaming topics so that I can basically start the conversation for you guys. I treat Rule of 2 Review like I'm having a conversation with you. Because it's kind of a way to show that I respect my audience and I respect my fellow gamer, which is you guys. And, you know, I'm not really having a back and forth because you guys can only watch the video and then post, but I like to treat it like I'm chatting with you. And so here's my whole long diatribe about how I feel about this topic, and you guys hear it, and then you get to comment and post, and we go back and forth, and that stuff's kind of fun. So the future of Rule of 2 Review, for the most part, is what it's been. I hope it's not too boring for you guys, but it's just what I like to do. And as long as I think I or anyone who has a YouTube channel does what they actually enjoy doing and are passionate about, the content's going to be the best. And I feel like the best way I can bring the best content to you guys is to just be honest and be me. And right now, what I do is what I like to do. And I love getting on podcasts with people, so I don't get to do that very often because my schedule sucks and I'm a very busy person. But whenever I can do those, like getting on the Juices Loose and stuff, or with Ms. T on the Tea Talk, I love doing that stuff. So keep an eye out for those things, but it's pretty much going to stay the same. Tyke Clan asks me, what do I think about Xenoblade Chronicles? Do I like the game? Why, yes, I do. I love the game. Xenoblade Chronicles is probably one of my top 10 or top 20 games of all time. It's definitely my favorite RPG, surpassing the likes of Tales of Symphonia and Mass Effect 2. Xenoblade Chronicles is freaking awesome. It's a masterpiece. I've said it a couple times. It's like The Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy and Skyrim all had a baby and shat out this amazing, beautiful bundle of joy that is Xenoblade Chronicles. And with Xenoblade Chronicles X just like 2 months away, oh my goodness, I am so pumped. I think that's going to be even better. So I own the day one GameStop exclusive physical copy of Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii, and I'll never part with it. I picked that game up day one, and it's a very long game. I'm like 80 hours into it, and I still haven't even beaten the damn game. But it's amazing. Fantastic combat system, awesome story, great voice acting, great visuals, just an awesome game. So, okay, this kind of leads into what I was just answering. Phantom Galaxy Productions asks, do I plan on making my channel a big hit? By big, I mean the Nintendo Project / Review Tech USA big. If so, what would be your plans? What type of quality content would you want to deliver? Oh, yes, a bonus question. I'm gonna have to find that on the YouTube thing. So, to answer the main question, oh, here we go. Where's the bonus question he asked? I found another question from him. He asked me a couple here, I guess. Shoot, I don't know if I can find the bonus question. Oh well. My plan. Do I want to make the channel a big hit? I mean, yeah. I want the channel to be huge. Right now, like I have like a career, and I have the professional band, music and all these things I do. So I'm like really busy. And then I also run this YouTube channel. And so doing Rule of 2 Review is like one of my favorite things to do. Because gaming as a hobby and as an industry is like my favorite thing next to playing music. So I love talking about it, and the fact that I can run a channel and I can talk to people and gain subscribers and interact with people who would otherwise be totally strangers is like fantastic. If I could do this for a living, like on YouTube, I would. So would I love to get as big as the Nintendo Project or Review Tech USA or even bigger? Like, absolutely, I would love to do it, and maybe that means it could be something I could do full time. I make really good money now, so I'd have to get really successful on YouTube to be able to do so, but it's possible. So yes, I would love that. Regardless of if it ever became my day job or even if it just is a thing that grew and grew, I like it because it means I'm reaching more people, and more people get to hear my opinions and maybe think about gaming in different ways because of how they hear me present it. So I would love that, but it's not like a goal. and I don't want to like change what I do or lie about the things that I do. Kind of like I was just saying, for the sake of getting so big. That's just not my thing. I just like to, I just want to let it happen organically, and however big the channel comes for however long I do it is how I'm going to just accept it. And that's great. Right now at 2,400 subscribers, it's bigger than I ever could have imagined. So I'm happy right now, let alone if I could dare get to 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 or 500,000 or a million, you know, like anything's possible. I don't ever see that happening. I just don't even know if I could do it long enough to do that, but we'll see. It's a great question. I super appreciate your interest. So, you know, yes, I'd like to get that big, and maybe it'll happen someday, but it's not necessarily my goal, and I'm not going to, like, force it, you know? So, Games and Wario asks me, what do I think about Star Fox Zero getting delayed? Well, I actually made a video when Star Fox got delayed, and I would definitely recommend going back and check it out. That was a couple weeks ago now. I was both tragically sad because Star Fox was like my number 2 or 3 game for the year. I was so excited for, even with the controversy. It's like, bring back Star Fox. It's going to be amazing. So I was really sad when it got delayed, but at the same time, I was kind of excited because it seems like that game needed more time in the cooker to be ready, especially with Platinum working on it. Very recently, a couple of weeks after the delay was announced, there was a quote, I think from Miyamoto or from maybe one of the guys with Platinum Games, where they said the game was delayed partly to give the game that Platinum feel. That got me excited because it's great that Platinum is working on this game with Nintendo. We definitely want that game to be as good, up to par with like their very best games, like the Bayonetta games. So with the issues and the controversy about this and that, when it got delayed, I was like, you know what? I think it's just going to be so much better for the game, and that's Nintendo's MO. They take their games and they delay them, and they always make them better. So if they did it, there's a reason they're doing it. They're working with Platinum. It's going to get that Platinum feel. I am sad, but I support it. And honestly, there's so many other games I'm playing this year anyway. It saves me time and money, so I'm okay with that. Trakov540 asks, what would be your number 1 advice for anyone learning drums? So, my number 1 advice is an obvious one, and that's patience. But here's a cool thing about the drums that I'll tell you, is when you compare learning the drums to learning any instrument, the drums are the most unique instrument you can learn, because everything else, guitar, piano, saxophone, violin, harpsichord, whatever the hell you're playing, they all work within a certain level of music theory. They're working on the octave scale. And harmonies, because they actually play in different keys and melodies and octaves. So drums don't do that. Drums are an entirely physical, percussive instrument, and you're just laying a foundation for rhythm. That's what you're doing with a drum set. So you play it and approach it very differently. Because of that, 2 things are true. 1, it's one of the easiest instruments to earn the extreme basics of. If you want to get a 1 and 3 beat, boom, chick, boom, chick, you can do that pretty quickly. Most people can teach them that in like a couple of minutes or at least a day. So you can get the basics of holding a drum beat down fairly fast, which is much easier than the basics of almost any other instrument. Now, to get extremely good at a drum set and to really understand that instrument inside and out and be able to take it to the next levels, the varying levels beyond that, is one of the most complicated things to do, because you're training your whole body, not just your brain. It's a combination of your brain and your body you have to train to do these amazing things. And, you know, I feel confident in where my skill is now, 20 years in, but I'm nowhere near as good as I could or would like to be. And so, basically, it's just a matter of patience, man, you know? It's a matter of patience, and it's a matter of counting. You're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You need to learn how numbers and the division of numbers will help you be a drummer, be a better drummer, and learn how that instrument fits its role within music. So patience and counting, those are the things you want to really deal with. And, you know, accept the fact that you'll get the basics down real quick, but then breaking those other walls down is going to become more and more difficult. I'm going to have to kind of streamline this down a little bit. I have so many questions, you guys. I might have to start picking a few here. Yeah, let me just get it down here. Okay, so another really awesome YouTube user and fan, Gilzone, asks, do I think Sakurai could make the best pro wrestling game ever? And if so, should it be a launch title for the NX? So I'll answer the second part first. Yeah, it should totally be a launch title for the NX. Any launch title for the NX is a good launch title. The more games you have, the better. Now, the pro wrestling thing is something that I have long since left my fanship of pro wrestling many years ago, like 15 years ago. I grew up as a huge fan back in the WWF days, before it was WWE. And Hulk Hogan was like my childhood hero. So I was super into wrestling for a long time, into like my mid to late teens a little bit. You know, around the time like Stone Cold and The Rock and stuff was starting to show up, and then Hogan went bad to do the NWO and all those things. That was like my last waning days of paying attention. That being said, I'm going to rub something in your face. I've attended 2 WrestleManias, just so all of you wrestling fans out there know, because I know a lot of gamers are wrestling fans still, which is a surprise to me. It's nothing against it, just surprising. And I've actually, even since not being a fan, I've attended WrestleMania twice. Once in Florida and once in Texas, the last probably 6 or 7 years. And even though I wasn't a fan anymore, I went with my brother and his friends, and it was honestly a blast. It was great to see a WrestleMania of all things. So wrestling is still pretty big amongst gamers, and the WWE 2K series or whatever that comes out every year is a really big deal. So yes, that series should be a part of Nintendo's roster, and if it launched with the NX, that would be great. Do I think Sakurai could make the best pro wrestling game ever? I'm not a very good judge of wrestling game quality because I don't play them, but I mean, Sakurai makes a great fighting game in Smash Brothers, so I think he could make a very good pro wrestling game, but they probably play so differently than Smash Brothers that I don't know if he'd make the best. Maybe he could. He's a hell of a talented guy, obviously, and he knows his fighting, so I think that it would be a very interesting thing to see. I think he could make a very great pro wrestling game, and yes, I do think it should be a launch title for the NX, but I don't know that I expect that. He asks, another question. When Xenoblade Chronicles X and Zelda Wii U finally come out, do I think it's possible Wii U sales can surpass the GameCube's lifetime sales? Yes, I do. Actually, that's a really good question. And I think that there's enough that could possibly happen between now and the end of the Wii U's life cycle that, yes, it could potentially surpass the GameCube's lifetime sales. And I like the GameCube more than I like the Wii U, but I'd like to see the Wii U be more successful because I hate that it's such a failure. I think it's unfortunate. He asks one last question. If Nintendo was to make an M-rated game for the first time ever, what would I want it to be? Well, what would I want it to be? I guess I have 2 answers to that. If we were to look at them making one of their current series M-rated, I have 2 first-party Nintendo series that I think could work well with an M rating. One is obvious, and that's Metroid, because it's like a sci-fi, futuristic, very mature look kind of theme to it anyway. And I think that the way they would do it would really just be violence. I don't think it'd be swearing. And yes, we've learned Samus is this really sexy girl, but it's not going to be anything along those lines either. I think it would just be the violence. I think it'd be like blowing the shit out of aliens and people and like exploding, or like I've wanted for a long time, a horror game, a scary, like literally like not a survival horror Metroid game, but like just a horror Metroid game. Imagine Metroid combined with Dead Space, that kind of thing. That could be an M-rated Metroid game. The other series I think would be Fire Emblem, because Fire Emblem is also predicated on a lot of adult themes and adult relationships. So I think that there's level between the violence and the sexuality and the language aspect in Fire Emblem that if they wanted to really take that to the level of something like Skyrim or The Witcher, they could do it. And that's how I could see Fire Emblem becoming that way. And the other answer to me is if they just made a brand new game and just created a new IP from the ground up, that would actually be an M-rated game. No clue what they would do. I don't know what kind of brand new series or genre Nintendo would tackle that they would make it M-rated, but it would certainly be interesting to see, wouldn't it? I would like to see that happen, but it probably never will, so that's that. Okay. One of my favorite YouTube users, Chronoflation, what's up, buddy? He asks me, he says, "Hey, Rob, I've missed or forgotten if you've answered this previously, but since it's your channel anniversary, what led you to pick the name Rule of 2 Review?" So a couple, like 2 or 3 people maybe ever have actually figured this out, but I've never actually addressed it. So Rule of 2 Review is actually a Star Wars reference. Rule of 2 Review comes from the Rule of 2, and the Rule of 2 is the rule that says there can only ever be 2 Sith existing at any one time. It was really first created in The Phantom Menace, where at the very end, after Qui-Gon had died, spoiler alert, was killed by Darth Maul, and they're burning his body in effigy, kind of like they did with Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi. And Mace Windu and Yoda have the conversation, always 2 there are, yes, but which did we kill, the master or the apprentice? And you kind of learn how that relationship plays out. That was a creation of the concept. And then there was also a novel called Darth Bane Rule of Two. Darth Bane, we learn, and this is now expanded universe that's been removed from the current canon, so I don't know how this is going to play out in the new films going forward. But still, the Rule of Two would have to exist because it's in Phantom Menace, and Phantom Menace is canon. But anyway, there was the novel Darth Bane Rule of Two Review, and you learned Darth Bane was the Sith from many millennia ago who actually created that. There was a great Sith war where there were so many Sith that existed at one time, and they were this huge band of Sith, like an army, almost like the Jedi Order. And they like existed for a time, and it was like okay, but the problem is there was so much infighting and there were so many attempts at usurping the power of other Sith that Darth Bane was the one who laid the hammer down and said, fuck no, y'all stop your fighting, here's how we're doing it. There are two Sith. There's a master and an apprentice always. There cannot be more. That was the creation of the Rule of Two. So when I created a website and a podcast in 2010, I was, determining what I wanted to name that website at the time, and I just loved Star Wars just like I do now, and I was familiar with that story, and I read the book, and it might have been pretty recent, and I just thought, hey, Rule of Two Review, like, it sounds catchy, and it's a reference to my favorite thing, Star Wars, and the website was both reviewing and discussing video games and movies at the time, so a movie reference seemed appropriate. And I built Rule of Two Review up to be something pretty strong as a website and as two podcasts on iTunes, that by the time I decided to come to YouTube, I was like, I'm just going to carry on the name. So that's Rule of Two Review. Now you know. That's what it is. It's the thing that I started in 2010, but it is a reference to Star Wars. And now you know what Rule of Two Review is. Let's see. That's the Metroid question. Okay, we're going to ask one from Haindog, another recent acquisition to my fans here. I've interacted with him on Facebook and YouTube as well. What's up, buddy? He has a very great channel, so you should definitely subscribe to him, by the way. He asks, what will you think will happen once Nintendo does release, possibly in 2016, the NX in regards to Microsoft and Sony? Will this force them to depart from the Xbox One, PS4 sooner than they'd like to? Do I think they will even be bothered by the NX? Very, very, very good question. I don't really know 100%. I think that ultimately, at first, I think you nailed it at the end. I don't know that they're going to be terribly bothered with the NX. I mean, they're obviously paying attention, and they all care about each other and what they're doing. But Nintendo really, more than ever with the Wii U, separated themselves from the competition, from the Xbox and PlayStation kind of conversation. They are still involved, but I mean, they're really in their own little world there. So I feel like Sony and Microsoft learned a lot this generation, coming off of the success of the Wii last generation, that Nintendo's just not fighting the same fight. Nintendo's fighting their own fight, and they're doing their own things, and I think that they're very purposefully separating themselves from the pack. I think it is by design. I think Sony and Microsoft know this, so I don't think that they're too terribly concerned with what's going on there. And do I think the NX releasing will influence them to do anything with their console plans and their future hardware plans? I could only see that influencing them if it's crazy powerful, like some rumors suggest. If they just blow away the competition in terms of power, I think that could be one way that they would kind of influence that, because I think Nintendo or Sony, Microsoft might want to catch up. And also, if it's really successful, if it sells like crazy and it shows that, hey, they're a force to be reckoned with sales-wise, I think it could influence them to do something like that. Yeah, I think that it's possible. But ultimately, the first thing I see happening, man, is I don't think that they will really be, I don't think that they'll be influenced at all by the NX, but it's going to remain to be seen, and it's going to depend, like I said, on how the NX actually plays out. So I think I might be looking at getting to my very last question. Yep, it looks like I've pretty much covered everything but a last one, so let's get to this. And I haven't really read this full question yet. So Phantom Galaxy Productions, again, I already answered one question from them. Ever since Project Cars was canceled for the Wii U, do I think Nintendo should develop their own racing simulator that could compete with the likes of Forza, Gran Turismo, and even Project Cars? If so, do I think it would be in Nintendo's best interest to release it as a launch title for the NX? Do I think such a game by Nintendo would increase sales on the NX? I mean, just look at the original Gran Turismo on PS1, best-selling game on the console. Yeah, pretty good question. So I'm not really into that kind of a game, and I've mentioned that a couple times. It's just really not my bag, but there's a huge market for that kind of game, and people want games like that. So do I think that they should make a game like that? Yeah, I definitely think that they should make a game like that. Do I think it should be a launch title for the NX? At this point, we've had a lot of questions like this and stuff. At this point in the game, I think that basically every game should be a launch title for the NX. There's no reason that anything shouldn't be a launch title for the NX. And you've heard me lament about all these things happening with the Wii U and how it's dying and Nintendo's leaving it behind and they're not releasing games on it, and it's really unfortunate. And I agree, I feel that way, and I think it's unfortunate they have to move on, but they are moving on. So I've gotten to the point where I've just accepted the fact that they're moving on and the Wii U is no longer relevant or their focus. So it's like, I'm going to keep supporting it till it's done, but I'm over it. So at this point, all their next big moves, software-wise, they need to be on the NX. If that includes Pikmin 4 and The Legend of Zelda, then so be it. If it includes a Gran Turismo-like game or an M-rated Metroid game or a Metroid Prime or whatever, so be it. They got to make the smart moves for the NX. And so if they make a game like this, A, it would be great. I think that they would make a fantastic game like that, racing simulator. And yes, I think it should be on the NX. Do I think it would also be successful? Yes, I do. I think that people would respond to it, and I think people would buy it. The Project Cars thing was really unfortunate, man. I talked about it a couple times, and, you know, really kind of surprised people because I really wasn't, like, super into it. But I understood that it was a game that people cared about, and I was planning initially on supporting it because I wanted to support that kind of game being made on the Wii U, and I wanted to see what the Wii U was going to be capable of when it came to that game. So it was a very interesting thing the way that whole thing played out. But you know, I like I said, at the end of the day, I think that I think I'm just going to leave it at that, and that, yeah, it would be successful. I think people want it. I think they'd make a great game, and I do think it should be revealed on the NX. So I think that's it. There's probably a couple other questions. I was trying to do one last little look through here, you guys, to find any other games I might have missed, but I think I've pretty much made it through everyone's question. I thought there was a movie-related one, but I can't seem to find it. I'm going through my email and the channel, like I said. Yeah, and that's it, man. So I gotta say, you guys are awesome. There were so many fantastic questions. I just couldn't be more thrilled with how it turned out. Your guys' response was awesome. And it helps me feel really justified and really good about the success of the channel and where it's been, you know, these last couple of years. 2 years now. It's just insane. So I actually recorded this. I'm recording this right now on October 22nd or 27th. Oh my gosh. It's October 27th. This is the day that, as you can see behind me, that's kind of why I pulled this thing back up here. Halo 5 just came out. I just picked it up last night at 9. I played it all night last night. I've been playing it all day this morning. It's freaking fantastic. So I was really excited to be able to have Halo 5 running here. But again, you're not going to see this until the actual anniversary, which is the 30th. So today, the day that you're watching this, is October 30th, the 2-year anniversary of Ro2R Review. I made it here, and I've seen this success because of you guys again. So thank you for being fans. You know, I'm going to keep continuing the channel. Lots of stuff to do and talk about. You know, I always love seeing the positive response. And thank you guys for asking so many questions. Hopefully you enjoyed this super long jaunt through a bunch of user questions from you guys interacting with me. So thank you so much. I will do one of these in the future. I'm going to bring back the comment corners and the Rob Theories video, segments a little bit more often. I haven't been doing those much lately. So I will say in the responses to this video, leave any questions you want, and I'll actually go back to the question corner, and I'll make one video dedicated to just one user's question and a shout out to that person. So leave any other future questions you guys might have below, because I'll still answer those on a new video just dedicated to that. But other than that, man, that's it. You know, what a crazy wild year 2 has been, and things are building up, and you know, maybe things get big enough and I start trying to join some people on some panels at some conventions or something. That's something I would like to do in the future, but I'm certainly not big enough to do that yet. No one would give a shit who I was at a convention just yet. We'll see how year 3 turns out, but other than that, I'll leave you guys with that. Thanks again. I appreciate you so very much. I always appreciate your fanship. Thanks for watching. Thanks for asking me questions. You guys are awesome. And this is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I, of course, will catch you next time on another regular video.